I should give a service to at least before I leave, so I can maybe go back and see how my perspective was before and after the trip. But the title for my sermon today is Change, because as I mentioned, I'm going away for a few months, which is for me a very big change because it'll be the longest I've been away from home ever. I didn't go on any programs or anything like that, so the most I was away was a couple of weeks at workshops, and so for me it's a big change. And yeah, so I'm going through our lives. We all have changes almost every day, small, big, minor, how like life changing. It's for every person it's different what changes they go through. And yeah, like it can be work, school, life, family. There's so many different types of change, and changes that we don't even notice are happening that we just deal with without a second thought. And we all figure out ways that we do deal with change. Everyone is different, as always pointed out. Everyone has their own ways of doing things, and in this case, ways of dealing with change. Whether you know how you deal with it or not, everyone deals with it in some way. Whether their way of dealing with it is to shove it in the corner and back to not dealing with it, but it's still at that moment it's dealing with it. And so I'm just going to talk about, because as I said, it's a massive change for me going to Russia for 2.5 months, which doesn't sound like a lot saying it, but for me, it's just moving to a different country. I don't speak the language. I know maybe 6 people at most that I can say I'm comfortable around, and even then, it's just different like language, cultural barriers, and not even talking about the situation that's happening over there. It's a bit like it's a big thing that's been thinking about and excited for, because it's not just me moving to Russia, it's me going to live together with my spouse, which I'm sure people can sympathize that I'm very excited for. But it's because there's also so I've been confronted with this big change, and it really got me to thinking about what did I do to prepare that I am excited to go. Because when people talk about big changes, it's usually they talk about being nervous and anxious and like not sure what to do. But for me, quite quickly, it came about that I was excited and looking forward to it for all the new experiences. So for me, I was just thought about, why am I excited for this? Of course, I already covered one reason, but that's not going to be the same for all the changes in life. So yeah, so I was thinking, all good sermons have to have a cheesy analogy. So here's my one, which is that we all have anchors in our lives, but I'm not saying that we are an anchor, but that we are the chain to the anchor. So the anchor is just at the end of it. So what we put onto that chain is what keeps us grounded when we're wherever we are. And I just kind of narrowed it down to 3 broader ones. So for me, an anchor is that confidence in myself or in ourselves. So like, what does that exactly mean? For me, it's like in a more abstract, it's not losing myself. And what does that mean? Of course, for everyone means something different, but for me, it's just not letting the change like take over who I am, not letting it overtake my thoughts, my feelings, my emotions. Like it's not dictating how I live my life. Of course, it's going to influence it a lot, but it's not going to overtake my life and drive all my decisions moving forward. And I know that I won't lose myself because I'm confident in who I am. Of course, I still need work. I still need to develop myself, be more not like empathetic to people, not as selfish as anyone is. Everyone, like, maybe, or am I the only one? But it's, yeah, and I think that this confidence in myself came about from like self-reflection, self-development over the years, trying to figure out what might touch on a bit later, but the principles in my life that I live by, not just the divine principle, but based off of that, how I want to live my life. And that's goes nicely into my second point, which is confidence in my faith. So again, with the time of self-development and self-reflection, I came about my life of faith. And as you might notice, this theme of this service is very personal, because it's what I say won't apply to everyone else. But it might apply to some, or might give some people ideas of how to think, which is what I'm hoping can come out of this for some people. Like the life of faith, it's difficult to define, difficult to make, but for me, it's so, what I've built is so strong that I don't have, like, I always know that I'll have this wherever I go, whether there's a community or not. Of course, I'm going into another community, so it's always that foundation of faith there with services and events and second gen, first gen, like there's that support always going to be there. But when I'm thinking about going somewhere where there isn't that, I feel that I'm not afraid of it, I'm not scared of it, because I know that I have my own, and that I have my traditions and practices that I can always connect. I can always connect with God where I am, and that's like, for me, that just takes a massive weight off my shoulders, because it's like I mentioned before, I'm going to somewhere where a completely different culture, completely different language, completely different currency, like world political situation, and it's like, it's so, when I think about it without like these anchors, it's scary. It's really scary for me. And I know I can come back. I know I can probably come back at any time. But it's just the idea that, like, without, like, not having those safety nets of, oh, my friends are just a call away, my family are just a call away, my home is just a day of travel away. It's without those safety nets, just like kind of immersing myself in this change, I know that I'm going to be okay, because I have confidence in myself and I have confidence in my faith. And because of that, it leads nicely to my third point. I'm really killing it with these transitions. I have confidence going into this change that I want to go into this change. And I think that's a big thing when it comes to big changes, is that you have to want to go into it. Because if you're reluctant and you don't want to, you're not going to do anything with the change. You're just going to hide away in a corner, get stressed and anxious, and who knows what's going to happen like then. But it's only from the basis of understanding what the change is, understanding myself, understanding what I have going forward, is what made me confident going into the change. And yeah, so all this, it might seem obvious, but all these things are just things that I am bringing with me. It's like, I'm confident because I know I have these things coming with me, on top of nice clothes and money and like gifts, so that in-laws are nice to me. And it's like, it's, you don't think about it, but these are things that I am bringing with me to make me confident. And that's, I think it's kind of missed when going into change, because you're saying, oh, you're going to change, you're going to be alone, but you're not really, like, once, for me, I'm like, yes, I'm alone, but I have these foundations for me to build upon that will always be there, no matter what, no matter how hard it might be, how alone I might feel, how like difficult it is. Those things are with me. The confidence in myself, the confidence in my faith, and the confidence that I want to be with this change. And so I just want to reference the reading because I did actually read this quite a bit ago, I think earlier this year, during an undertaking condition where I just took notes on like quotes I really liked, and I gave my thoughts on it. And going back to it, when I was looking for some readings, because I feel that really helped me structure services a bit more, or whatever, or my talks. I felt that it was really relevant to like my situation and the talk. So the first part was that you kind of compare two things, and that you have the capacity to appreciate both. And it's, for me, it really made a lot of sense, because when it comes to change, it's not just something new that you have to deal with, but what I like to see it as is something different that you have to accept and use it to confront parts of yourself, because that's what it is. A change is something that confronts you or your personality or your life. And just because it's confronting you doesn't mean it's bad, or it doesn't mean it's also good. But to actually come to figure out what is good or bad, you need to be able to appreciate something. And it's just like if you listen or watch or read a reviewer, and if they're always negative about something, it's great when you agree that it's also bad. But if they're negative about something you like, then you get annoyed, and then if you continue to feed into that negativity, it just makes you don't have a good a balanced outlook on any of the media that might be reviewing, and it kind of just makes you pessimistic about everything else going forward, about what is good, what's not. And also you kind of, I think after a while you get fed up with just someone just saying something bad all the time for saying something bad, because that's what it feels like. But if you have a reviewer that's says something is objectively bad, you also agree that something is objectively bad, but they point out some good things that they really liked. Maybe it was an actor that they had a good performance, the cinematography was okay. It was just something that points out good things in a review. You really, for me, I connect a lot more with it, because it's just it feels more real, and it feels that the person knows what they're talking about, because it isn't just all good or all bad. They've really delved into it and really immersed themselves in what the medium was, to be able to pick out what was good and bad. And I think that is the same with change. When something confronts you, you immerse yourself into it, and only then can you really be able to figure out whether that change was good or bad. And you can then take those aspects that confront you about and really be able to think about, what can you change in your life? Why was something bad? Why was something good about this change? And it's also onto what the second part of the reading was, that you can't make a judgment unless you have a standard. And I think maybe this will take a bit more gymnastics to link properly, but with when it comes to change, you really need to be able to, as I said, appreciate it and incorporate it to a standard, so that you can use the principles of yourself, of your principles as a person, what makes you up, your life of faith, your personality, your values growing up, just using that, only when you have those things, when you know yourself to a certain extent, you can know everyone has someone know that aspects of themselves, but when you know yourself to a certain amount, only then can you really pass judgment on things. Because if you don't know about yourself, can you really know what you're talking about? and I think it's really true when you're confronting these big changes, to really know yourself, to really be able to go into these difficult situations, because change can be easy. Maybe it's just your train times change and you just have to sit for another couple of minutes, or the train time is cancelled and you're going to be late for an interview or something. What happens then is basically, you probably freak out, you get really stressed, and then it's after then you just give up, or do you call the job, or do you start running? There's plenty of different decisions, and it's up to yourself what works for you. And it's only when you know, I think the worst thing is just giving up, because what good does that do to anyone, just to sit and accept that's a failure? It's only when you put in the effort to meet the change head on and to really and then reflect on it afterwards. That's when I think that people, you really learn about yourself a bit more. And yeah, it's definitely, I think that's embracing change and appreciating the change is important. Of course, there's always a different context where I'm thinking more positive lights on the change, but I think at the end of the day, a change always has something for you to learn about yourself. And as painful as it can be, it's definitely, there's always something to learn. And whether you put a lot of emphasis or not is up to you. It's a change for me might be hard, but a change for other people, that same change might be something that people deal with literally in their sleep. And I think it's just all about figuring out your foundations, your anchors going into a big change. And I'm sure people have done a lot. I mean, a lot of people have moved here. This is not their native country. They've come here for an indeterminate amount of time. People went off on programs, left home for a year for programs, a couple of months for a program, and just I'm sure that they have, to a certain extent, they've thought about this, and if not, I hope you think about it now. But and I think it's really important to really reflect on these changes. On after you come through at the other side of change, what confronted you about it? I think it's really good to think about why were you confronted, and if something needs to change from that, do you need to update your personality? Do you need to look out for that in the future, or is it just something that just doesn't matter? It's not going to happen again. And I think a big, just looking back after the fact is always important, no matter what happens, but specifically with change. And it's definitely something that I'm going to be doing when I come, while I'm there, and when I come back, is really thinking about, what was different, what was hard for me, and what can I do better if it happens again, or what can I bring from my life that I've lived in those few months in Russia and bring back here. And I think that's what I'm really looking forward to, is experiencing this new culture that's there, and really thinking and about what I can bring back to better my life here. And because it's I think on the surface we see that we're all people, but living there and experiencing life with my spouse and family, the few times I've visited, it's very different. And I think I'm really looking forward to this, and it's something that I have been for a long time, and I'm hoping that when I come back, I'll be able to I know I'll be able to regale everyone with lovely stories and good, funny experiences, and but I truly hope that I can bring back something positive in my life from that experience. And I know I will find something, because there's lots I've already learned, from my experiences there. There's already a lot that I am looking forward to experiencing again. And then maybe in a few years I can get a big boys trip or second-gen trip to Russia. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm hoping that the changes are too difficult. I think that's it for me, so join me in prayer, of course. Also, my parents, I'd like to thank you that all be gathered here today for service, and that we could be here as a community and get some good youth who come to practice our life of faith together and with you. And I want to pray that we can take something from the day that could bring into our lives into this week, and really be able to enjoy our time together, to grow our relationships, to be able to invite you into our lives. And as we go through many different changes, starting university, going back from programs, starting new jobs, that we can really keep you with us, keep a mind forward of what we can learn, what needs to be changed, and what we can do to make the best out of what's happening now. I want to thank you again for everything. I'd like to report this in my name, Bernard Manis. Best of luck from me. Thank you.